Before I say anything else, my heart goes out to the families in Texas impacted by this devastating flood. Lives have been lost, homes destroyed, and communities forever changed. But sadly, some are already trying to turn this tragedy into a political weapon. Emergency services, local and federal, have been on the ground working around the clock. But that hasn't stopped the Democrats from what they do best: blaming Trump.
In the hours leading up to the deadly flooding, the National Weather Service issued warnings and alerts, but there are questions of whether those alerts could have reached the most vulnerable and whether staffing cuts and federal budget cuts affected the ability to potentially save more lives. Between buyouts and cuts, NWS lost about 600 people between the start of Trump's second term and April 30th. NWS says it issued alerts and warnings starting 12 hours before the event, but one of the counties most devastated by this flood does not have weather sirens, and even cell phone service and weather radio can be limited in these areas, especially during severe weather.
Major cuts to National Weather Service and NOAA and other federal agencies that monitor and track and warn folks about the weather. However, the president's mega bill, which he just signed into law on Friday, makes cuts and even closes some weather research labs that help make forecast improvements. A local meteorologist tells us the area is so prone to flooding here in central Texas. It's known as Flash Flood Alley. And local officials say because the area is so sparsely populated that no one was there to warn folks of what was coming downstream.
There were a number of emergency alerts sent to local residents' phones in the hours before the flood by the National Weather Service, most of them coming in the middle of the night. But questions still remain about cuts to the NWS and whether they could have contributed to the loss of life.
And here's the kicker. Even the liberal media outlets are admitting that the National Weather Service was fully staffed and that this was an unusual, extreme weather event with no forecasting failures. So which is it? You can't say everything was in place and then turn around and blame Trump and the budget cuts. They can't have it both ways, but they will try.
The National Weather Service said it was adequately staffed before the Texas floods, and warning messages were sent out to residents.
Hard-hit Kerr County does not have a weather siren system, in part because some local officials felt it was too expensive to install. The Weather Service says it added keywords to a late-night warning to automatically trigger wireless alerts on cell phones and weather radios in the area. But at Camp Mystic, for example, where cell phones weren't allowed, or in other rural areas of the county with limited service, many may not have received those alerts at all.
Within hours of the disaster, Democrat lawmakers and mainstream pundits hit social media and the airwaves, claiming this was somehow the result of Trump-era budget cuts. The National Weather Service was fully staffed, fully funded, and issued timely warnings well ahead of the flooding. But when you don't have facts, you reach for fear. But here's what the White House had to say about everything.
Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings.
Let's be clear. Trump's administration prioritized border security, national defense, and cutting waste, not gutting emergency response. The staffing and funding levels at the National Weather Service remain strong. No credible evidence supports the idea that any Trump policy slowed disaster response here. They do it because crisis equals opportunity. They want to paint every national disaster, every emergency, every hardship as somehow Trump's fault. It's lazy politics, and it disrespects the victims. Don't fall for the spin. For Democrats, it's all about power. Please leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching.